Wonderful. Well, good afternoon and good morning, or even good evening for those people who are joining us from elsewhere, or if you're watching this later on Catch Up TV. You're here at the first inaugural session for the Housing and Health Thematic Ecosystem with the European Connected Health Alliance, hosted, I'm pleased to say, by our Italian ecosystem, ECHAlliance in Treviso. Today we've got a packed programme. As people are starting to join us, I'll just introduce our programme. We'll flash up a slide at the moment. But to give you an overview of what's happening today, this is the first part of a journey where we're starting to introduce both need and solution in the field of housing and health. We're doing this because we're adopting what we use elsewhere, which is as an ecosystem model. That model's been tried and tested across many jurisdictions, many geographies. And what that does is help us to bring in all the stakeholders of health. Let me just show you what I mean by this, and then we'll crack on with our programme. Ecosystems, as we see them, are ideal opportunities where people can both match need and solution. We bring together all the stakeholders in health and social care in one place, either in a geographical setting or today in a cross-border setting online, which is great because that means we can bring in the whole of our ecosystem network. What that enables us to do is to start breaking down some of the silos that exist around the field of housing and health. And housing and health has a great big silo problem because for many years, I've worked in both fields, neither party will talk to each other. Housing won't share information with health, health won't share information with housing. They're very different and they never talk. Well, that needs to stop. And so what we're trying to do today is bring the stakeholders together from municipalities and regional governments who are involved with both health and housing to look at what the needs are around housing, but also where good practice exists and what's been done already. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So we've got some fantastic examples of that coming up today from both perspective from Italy, from Northern Ireland, and a European perspective as well. As well as breaking down silos, our ecosystems are there to actually do things, to transform healthcare and housing, in this case, because we know the impact that housing can have on healthcare. And lastly, because this is an enormous area of growth, an enormous area of potential spend, there's an economic opportunity too. And why wouldn't you look at something that's a vast spend for your economy as an opportunity as opposed to a burden? So we've built up a series of geographic ecosystems all over the globe. Some of them will be here today, some will be watching on Catch Up YouTube later. But you see that ecosystem network's grown or out of proportion, I should say, over the last 2 years because of the pandemic. As people have wanted to come in and collaborate together, we've seen our ecosystem grow as a network. From 11 years ago, having a network of one ecosystem that I can remember joining in Manchester, to be followed by colleagues in Northern Ireland and Finland and Republic of Ireland, to now a network of over 70 geographic ecosystems over the globe, ranging from Argentina to Australia. Those ecosystems have demanded more opportunities to collaborate because they know by collaboration they get the best practices shared, they get to scale up good solutions, they get to collaborate and engender that spirit of transformative healthcare. What we've done in response to that is build a series of what we call thematic innovation ecosystems. Now, these are the same concept as before, permanent multi-stakeholder gatherings, but on a thematic level. So today on housing and health, we'll be looking at, introducing you to the subject, but also then start looking at, areas such as smart housing or funding on a different level each time, going down on a deep dive, but bringing in the best from our other ecosystems and our members and our ecosystems members. So we're proud today to feature all three of those with our members and our ecosystems in a packed programme that I think will help kick off this topic. I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Oscar, just show you where this part of the programme is being recorded, We will have some breakout sessions. We will not record those sessions because that's between conversations between ourselves here. It's one of Zoom's limitations. Let me hand over to my colleague, Oscar, who's not only one of our ecosystem leads, he's involved with many European projects in this area, and he's the pin that links all of our speakers here together today. Oscar, over to you.
Thank you very much, Andy, and welcome to you all to this launch of the thematic ecosystem. Let me start with why we want to work on such kind of topics. So first, let me say there's huge movement around conversion building around Europe, because in average, we know we have more than 70% of the building aged around 80 years and more, depending on our countries, but there's a huge need of energy saving, adaptation, and also we need to overcome loneliness. But as we know, almost for older people, that is the main target that we are working on, not the only one, but the main one. This is a great phenomena that we need to overcome altogether. So our motivation regarding working on this comes together with also the new strengths that we have in terms of funding opportunity coming from the next generation recovery and resilience plan, that is the European plan that is going to be implemented in all the European countries. So the idea is to work together in sharing ideas, knowledge, opportunities, in creating such kind of large working group. So this need, let's say, will be transformed in a methodology that we want to let's say, taste today in terms of methods. That is the breakout room session that we will have later on after the speaker presentations. That is, let's say, the endeavor that we will do in terms of knowing each other better, and knowing what we could do together and sharing experiences and further opportunities, but almost how we could design, let's say, and work on a very easy and not time demanding and time consuming way to stay in touch along the time, because we think that during this first semester of 2022 and in the second part of the year, huge funding and let's say opportunities will be in front of us. So we need to be ready and try to have this sprint all together here. So that's why we divided the large housing and health topic in four, let's say, strands that are in the agenda. So one is about smart buildings. So for example, how the deployment of technology, the IoT, the AI applications could work for supporting people along the aging process. And so the other issue is the green approach that we need to have for building a design. And let me say that the energy consumption and the gas cost improvement that we have nowadays, we know which is the situation, is growing more and more and more and fast and fast and fast. So we need to hurry up in terms of how we could imagine and build new green environments. And also the innovative social models comes to build new communities that could engage people in reducing the social isolations and also in the, let's say, optimizations of the way of life. Because for example, we are observing nowadays almost here in Italy, but I guess it's quite the same all around. But people, families are splitted. The son or daughters live far away, so there's huge of debate about how people could still, let's say, to utilize large apartments or houses that they cannot afford anymore. So here comes also the finance and the economic sustainability and the governance of such kind of new community places. That is, who could be in charge as, let's say, the main actor able to intercept several private and public funding, and in maybe also imaging vehicles, financial vehicles that could be used to pursue this social aim. So those four pillars are the ones that we would like to share and work on with you. So it's a common challenge, let's say. And that's why today we asked to our experts coming from several fields, but all with the common denominator of working on housing issues, to be here today and share their experiences. And we are very grateful for your time. So now's the time to move on with session one, that is how we can create so smart and healthy neighborhoods. And we will hear let's say the novels coming from Deirdre Ferguson, who is the City Innovation Broker at Belfast City Council. So thank you, Deirdre, to join us, and over to you, please.
That's it, Deirdre, and you're on mute now.
Can you hear me and see my slides okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so I seem to have got to the last slide first, so I'll reverse my slides in the. So thank you very much for the introduction. As Isaac has said, I am Deirdre Ferguson. I'm a city innovation broker with Belfast City Council. And over the next 10 minutes, I'd like to share with you our ambition for creating a smart district in our city centre. And we hope that smart district is going to provide the foundations for a smart, healthy neighbourhood. So I'd really like to set the context of our work for you and to outline some of the areas that we feel we would need to strengthen our knowledge and expertise in to help us achieve our aspirations for the future. So as many of you will know, Belfast is the capital city of our region, and it's the second largest city on the island of Ireland. So the population of the region is just over 1 million, but in our city core, we have just over 330,000 people living there. And the Belfast agenda is actually the strategy for our city. And this sets out our plans and our ambitions to 2035. And the Belfast agenda is underpinned by quite a few other substantial documents, including our city resilience strategy and our local development plan. And it will not be surprising to you that these documents set out our ambition to have a sustainable city. And that's a city where we want to deliver over 30,000 new homes by 2035 to accommodate the needs of our growing population and our aging population. We also have ambitions to grow that population by 66,000 people by 2035. And we want more people to come and live in our city. We also recognise that to do that, we needed to make it an attractive place for people to live and to live throughout their lives. And we need to create economic benefits for people to come into the city. So we want to boost our economy by developing over 550,000 square foot for employment space. And we need to create over 50,000 new jobs within the same time period. We also want to put initiatives in place to transition to a zero carbon, emissions-free, climate resilient economy. We have some of the poorest health outcomes in Western Europe, so it's really important for us to address those. And we also want to address the life expectancy gap that we have between our poorest and our wealthier areas in our city. And we want to reduce that gap by 50%. And we have an ambition for our young people to remain in our city, to attract our talent and to keep our talent, and to ensure that every young person leaving school fulfills their ambition for the future. So you recognise then that Belfast City Council within this plan has a very key role. And we have created these ambitions together with our citizens and with our stakeholders. And we are responsible for a range of powers in the city that include economic, physical and social regeneration, land use planning, community planning, parks and open spaces, leisure estate and waste management. But in Belfast, what we don't have responsibility for at the council is housing, is infrastructure, is energy, is health and education. So this means as a city council, we have to develop a very robust relationship with the Northern Ireland Executive and our government departments who do have powers in these areas, so that we can influence their strategies and their policies to make sure that our services are developed to meet the needs of our citizens now and for the future. And while we need to also work collaboratively with all of the government departments who have responsibilities in these areas, we have recognised the importance in recent years of harnessing the power of technology and data science to help us achieve our ambitions. So over recent years, we've seen how low-cost cloud computing, artificial intelligence, ubiquitous mobile phones, high-speed internet, inexpensive sensors, data, and data analytics and modelling can help us identify new opportunities to think differently about the city problems, how we grow our city, and how we create new opportunities for new homes and building and a healthy environment. And so in 2017, the City Council set up our team, the City Innovation Team. And we were very much focused on looking then at how technology and data science could help us achieve the ambitions of our city. And over the past 4 years, we've grown our team and we have accessed over £10 million to support innovative initiatives, £1 million from the Rockefeller Association to create the role of a resilience commissioner for the city to help us with our ambitions. We've carried out over 40 digital innovation projects where we have been inviting our academics and their businesses to work with us in the public sector to look at these challenges of creating a city fit for the future and for our future services. And through our work, we've been able to influence major investment coming down from the UK Treasury called the Belfast Region City Deal. And that's going to bring £1 billion of investment into the city over the next 10 years. And the focus of that is really about creating new jobs and accelerating inclusive economic growth. And that's very important for us in terms of creating a smart district and a smart, healthy neighbourhood. And as part of that £1 billion investment, we have negotiated 120 million for digital investment. And we want to access some of that to create a smart district, because we see the smart district as a way of being able to provide a test bed environment to bring testing and trialing into a real life scenario, bringing it out of universities and out of labs into real world settings, and to help us plan our future urban environment. So we believe the characteristics of this smart district will really support us in terms of the development of services for the future of our city. And the characteristics that we want to develop are a barrier busting resource so that innovators can have access to assets and speedy partner decision making and reduced complexity and red tape for innovation. We will have a £30 million investment in ubiquitous connectivity to create an environment that's going to have always on high speed connectivity to support innovation. We also want this smart district to be a showcase to demonstrate what the art of the possible is to influence policies and strategies for the future. And we will have access to £15 million challenge funds so that universities and innovators and SMEs can work with us to look at what the art of the possible is so that we can create new innovations to support the services of the future. The district will also provide an environment where policymakers and innovators and researchers can generate, share and utilise urban data. And ultimately, it will be a trialling and testbed environment where we can prototype and trial new products and services before scaling elsewhere. And through this testbed, we want to be able to share best practice so that our innovators and SMEs can access Irish, European and international expertise on solutions that help us with energy, mobility, sustainable neighbourhoods, homes for the future. And it is within this smart district, as I've mentioned, we want to create a smart, healthy neighbourhood. And it's this neighbourhood where we want to encourage investment in sustainable homes and provide a living lab and a demonstrator where we can pilot and trial new solutions and technologies that enable our people to live independently, to have better quality of lives, and to have longer, healthier lives. As I've mentioned previously, we want to grow our city population and attract people to live in our city centre, but we need to create sustainable homes and neighbourhoods that support healthy living and healthy ageing. And we need new approaches for our city centre development, particularly post-COVID. So we really want to create an environment that supports innovation in relation to our life and health sciences, connected health, and which will benefit from research excellence and private sector investment. And it's within this smart, healthy neighbourhood, we will seek to understand the needs of those who want to live, work and study there, and encourage all of our citizens to work with us to co-create and co-design solutions for the future. We also want to be able to work with our landowners and planners so that we can support our citizens and understand the challenges of future city centre living so that we can adopt scalable solutions and technologies to support our ambitions. And to help us with our plans, we have started some work on this journey already. We are part of a consortium with the Connected Places Catapult, and Belfast has been selected as one of 5 UK cities, which will be test beds for trialling and testing solutions to address issues related to healthy ageing. And in Northern Ireland, it won't be surprising to you that our consortium is addressing the issue of loneliness and isolation for the over 65-year-olds. So we've already started to learn a lot from this project, and it's giving us insight into some of the issues that we want to develop in terms of developing further our smart, healthy neighbourhood. So we have ambitious plans and we have lots to learn. And these are some of the areas that we would like to explore with you to understand how we can make this happen. We really would like to understand how we can develop a more robust ecosystem to better engage with and support our businesses and innovators on this journey with us. We would like to learn from models of best practice for citizen co-creation and end user engagement. We really want to connect with those communities and residents in our smart district to get them on board, to understand their concerns, especially concerns in relation to safeguarding data and privacy issues. We have some investment that we want to make in data and digital investment. So we're exploring the considerations that we need to make in relation to these investments. How important, for example, is it to have ubiquitous connectivity, 5G and 6G availability in our neighbourhoods to support the improvement of our lives and healthy ageing? We do want to support our businesses to create opportunities for commercialization. So we're looking at various ways to support how companies can scale and achieve routes to commercialization at a fast speed. And while we do have some funding in place, not all of our funding allows us to achieve the ambitions that we have. So we are looking for new funding models and ways to collaborate and co-invest to help us progress with our plans. And influencing policy is very important to us. As I mentioned, we do not have responsibility for health or housing or some of the issues that are really important to us. So we want to be able to influence policies and health and well-being, urban planning and housing, and be able to draw attention to these issues for key decision makers and stakeholders. So as you can see, we have ambitious plans. We have a lot to learn. So we'd be delighted to hear from you, to sharing your experiences in any of these areas that you can make available to us. So thank you for listening, and that's my presentation for today.
Thanks, Deirdre. I think a really good example there, a classic example of need in 10 minutes. So I think, you know, a lot to start on there, and I think certainly from the people I know that are in the audience and the people I know will be watching this later, there's a lot of experience across Europe and across the globe on some of these areas. And I think there's a mixture of potential collaboration that we can talk about today, and we'll hear some best practice today. Obviously, with the role of the European Connected Health Alliance, one of the first things we'd like to do is perhaps without building behind you in my mind, think let's look to a bit more positive times that we've got now and get a physical face-to-face Northern Ireland ecosystem session specifically on this topic. I think it'd be an ideal topic. So that's item number one on the geographical side. But I'm conscious that's just only what the ECHAlliance can help with. Let's look perhaps at other examples from across. So I'm going to hand back to Oscar. So thanks for that, Deirdre. A really good, succinct understanding of what I think is a very clear need around what for many people will be quite familiar and for many people quite different. So Oscar, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll do questions and if you have any questions, by the way, please use the chat thing in at the bottom of the screen here, below me, where the sun is shining allegedly on me. There's a chat function there, and obviously you can contact Deirdre directly with her email and the chat function below too. Oscar.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deirdre, for your contributions. Very appreciated. And now let's move to second speaker, who is my workmate, Nicola Contarin, who will present the needs around the retrofit to keep people in their own homes longer. Nicola is part of our ISRA team working on European projects. So over to you, Nicola. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar, and pleased to meet everybody. Can you hear me well? Yes, okay. Okay, so then I will be sharing my screen. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay. So as Oscar said, my name is Nicola Contarin. I'm a project manager at ISRA. Therefore, I'm a colleague of Oscar, and we are a public care provider based in Treviso, in the northeast of Italy. And I will be talking to you today about the needs around retrofitting. When we talk about retrofitting, of course, we are talking about intervention in the existing housing stock in order to, let's say, improve homes and living for the people. There is a little introduction I wanted to make regarding the fact that many of you might know that Europe, the West in general, but Europe in particular, is experiencing a big housing crisis recently. Some countries more, some countries less. I think in the UK there is a very big debate about the housing crisis, but not only in the UK. And so many governments are speaking recently about building new homes. I think this is a very familiar topic in the UK, especially at least when I was living there. So building new homes, but the thing is that considering the demand that there is now for new housing or for better housing, this will probably not be enough, and we will have to intervene in the existing housing stock, which is something that, for example, in Italy is currently being addressed by the government, especially thanks to the recovery funds and the Green Deal, the European Green Deal. So this has a lot to do with the housing crisis, and also we need to consider two more trends, in my opinion, that are really relevant today. The current demographic trends that we're facing of this aging population, but also migrations that we are experiencing in Europe in the last years, and unfortunately we might experience soon again from the east of Europe, unfortunately. And also another very important trend that we are seeing recently is the urbanization trend. So I saw a question in the chat regarding rural areas, which I totally agree. It's a very important topic, and I think still around 50% of European population is still living in rural areas. But there is an urbanization trend. People are increasingly moving towards cities, and so it makes sense, I guess, from the central government's point of view, to invest in cities more than rural areas. And also, I think from economic, I'm not an economist, but I think from an economical point of view, if I were a developer, it would be easier to invest in cities, and also probably more convenient in terms of the economical return that I would get from that. Okay, so let me go to the little index that I prepared. There are some aspects of retrofitting that came to my mind, especially. These are the main reason why somebody would do retrofitting: for energetical reason, domotics, let's say arrange housing to welcome people with disabilities, and then climate change. You can see, of course, on the bottom right, a little elephant, is because there is an elephant in the room here, and we will meet this elephant later on, over and over. So the first reason, like I said, it's energy. It's the most immediate reason why we would think about retrofitting. You would retrofit your existing house in order to make it more efficient from the energetical point of view. And this would bring you warmer houses, cheaper bills, because you would have less waste of energy in order to warm your house. This will have also good consequences on your health and well-being, especially if you think about people with arthritis, for example, that might have serious problems if their house is cold or really humid. You might increase space depending on the kind of works that you have to do on your house, but especially if you suddenly need to use a wheelchair, for example, or some other instrument that help you move, you might need to have wider spaces in order to move inside your own house. And then, depending on the works that you might have to do in your house, you could be improving natural light, ventilation, and air quality. This also is connected probably to people with respiratory diseases. And a side effect, but like I said, we will be talking about the economical factor a lot, is that retrofitting your house also increases its value. In the picture that you can see on the right, you can see the effect of retrofitting from the energetical point of view. The middle portion of the house that it's colored in blue is the part that it's retrofitted. It looks colder from our perspective, but that's because the house is retaining the heat inside. So the extreme parts on the left and on the right are the ones that are not retrofitted, and then they're spreading heat outside, and that's energy that the inhabitants of these houses are wasting, basically, trying to keep warm, and this heat, this energy is actually going outside. There is also a white spot, which is a person, and that it's either really, really cold or really, really hot, apparently. I wanted to bring to your attention some example of what retrofitting means in terms of site. You can see these are all houses that I think Andy will be very familiar with, and also Deirdre, because they're clearly British architectural houses. I took these pictures and the data from this Remo Urban project that was made in 2020. And these are houses that they experienced to see the results regarding the benefits of retrofitting houses. So you can see the house on the left, in the first instance, I think is the last house of the row. how it became on the right, and so on. So these are also some other examples. In my opinion, they also become a little bit prettier, but that's just a personal taste, let's say. The second topic I wanted to talk about is domotics. And since I only have 10 minutes, I'm not going to talk a lot about what domotics is and why is it good for your health, how it can be useful for you. Even though probably, again, answering to the question in the chat, it's probably a good way to improve housing and health for rural communities, since you might not have all the services you want next to you, then domotics might give a little help. The point I wanted to make is regarding domotics is that we have two roads here. Either you plan for domotics in new buildings, and so you already can start designing the house knowing that it will host some domotic appliances and devices, and so you have an embedded design that gives you a good product that is being designed for that, and you can see the good looking Mickey Mouse there representing the good looking house. Or if you need to retrofit a house that was not planned to host this kind of appliances and devices, then you either have to make some arrangements that I call make-do design. Like I have to find some compromise with the structure that my house was designed with, and try to arrange it, make it work somehow in order to being able to host new domotic appliances. Or if I want a really good result, I will probably have to invest a lot of money. So this is something that we need to consider, and it's already introduced in our elephant, let's say. The same thing goes with the issue of disability. Like, of course, you can design the house already for people with disabilities, or as is probably the case in the vast majority of the existing housing stock in Europe, and not only in Europe, the house was designed with other purposes in mind. Sorry. And we have to make subsequent changes to the house in order to accommodate new uses by people that might have some form of disability, or they might even just be aging and then having new needs that they didn't have to experience before. So when they designed their first house, it was according to how they wanted it and what their needs were at the time. But then growing old or growing some form of illness or some physical problem, the house is not fit for them anymore, and so they need to fix it, let's say. And this works in the same way as the previous slide that I showed. Either you invest a lot of money, or you have to see what you can do, the best you can do with the house you have. I decided to bring an example from this American website. I found they listed a few works that you might need to do to retrofit your house, for example, for disability purposes. The website, you can see it's called homes.com, and this is an estimate of costs from 2019. You can see in the list there are a little some example of what you could do, like widen an entry door, walk-in tub or shower if you need to take a shower, widen your hallways. Sometimes you might need to do structural changes, like destroying a wall, for example, replace windows and so on. And they try to put a range of prices and also indicate what is the average price for doing that. Of course, you can see that if you had to do all these things, like the price would be really, really high. Then again, like if you, for example, if you install an elevator, you probably don't have to install a stair lift, you know, like that chair that you put on the stairs to go up. if you probably have to do an elevator, you don't have to do that one, or vice versa. So $150,000 is really an estimate, really rich estimate, let's say. What is curious, in my opinion, is to see what is the average price that most people are actually paying for retrofitting their houses, which is much less. And there's something on my screen that doesn't allow me to see, but I think it's about $6,000, which is much less, and it's probably the least you could do to retrofit your house, depending on your needs. But it does pose a problem of economics, because of course, if I had to spend all that money to retrofit my house completely, then I'd rather buy a new house, which is probably around that same price, and the house will be already with all the things I need, like I showed before in the slide with the Mickey Mouse. Therefore, the issue of affordability is crucial, and this is actually our elephant. In order to do like really global, let's say, really a wide operation of retrofitting of the existing housing stock, we really need a lot of money. And this is something that private developers, public authorities, and national governments need to take into account, and I think they do. And this is the reason why it's so difficult to intervene in the housing stock market, providing for retrofitting homes for our health, let's say. The last topic that I wanted to talk about and why it's related to retrofitting, it's maybe not immediately close to us as individuals, but of course this is a point of view, meaning that as we know, the housing is also one of the most polluting elements of our societies. I decided to highlight here you can see on the left of the chart there are a number of polluting chemical substances, and the ones with the orange arrows are the ones where housing plays a very, very big role. I had to write down what they actually mean, because I'm not a chemistry expert, but that's black carbon, carbon monoxide, particulate matter with a diameter of 10 nanomillimeters or less, and fine particulate matter. And especially in the last two, you can see we hear a lot about this when we talk about road traffic, for example, but apparently housing is much more heavy on those, with one of them more than half of the PM 2.5 is produced just by housing. And housing, residential and commercial and institutional buildings, they are also responsible for the 20% of lead, I think lead, and benzopyrene, it's the percentage is even higher. So one of the reasons why retrofitting is also very important is that we are now going more and more towards a green or greener society, a greener world, or hopefully we are. And then this is the reason why retrofitting is also very important. And like I said, it depends on how you see the individual responsibility of people concerning the effects on the environment. But of course, overall, altogether, we contribute. So renovating our housing stocks and make it more green, it's crucial in the next decades. For this purpose, I wanted to bring to your attention the recent COP26 that was held in Glasgow, or the Fit for 55 European policy that aims at bringing down of 55% of greenhouse gas emissions, with the objective of being climate neutral by 2050. So these are just two of the most recent, how can I say, international conferences or actions that are being taken in order to bring our society closer to, like I said, climate neutrality. There are some actions that were generated during these conferences, although I have to say that most of them are just announcements and signing agreements, commitments, and this kind of thing. So we have to see then if the private developers and the national governments will actually be able to provide for these promises. This is my last slide, because I don't know if I'm late or not.
Just a bit, yes. So we can, yeah, please.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to say that the Manchester City Council actions that were taken recently, they declared the climate emergency for the municipal climate emergency into 2019, committed to being carbon neutral by 2038. All non-renovated housing was classed as substandard. And I really like the fact that they approved a social fund grant for housing developers, 2 million euros to buy empty properties and renovate them. And they were saying if you just buy the houses and put them in the market, then it would be 90 homes, for example. But if you retrofit them perfectly, they would only be 30 homes. So again, like this issue of costs and money becomes really relevant. And that's it. Sorry, I took so long.
Thank you very much, Nicola, for such concrete topics about how retrofitting could go. So thanks once more. And now let's move to the last and third speaker, who is Silvia Uriarte, that we are very happy to have with us, coming from Tecnalia as a senior researcher and innovation experts, who will talk now about an European perspective that we could have about this topic. So Silvia, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oscar, and thank you for the invitation. Well, I will try to go quite quickly because I see that we won't have many time for the breakdown rooms that are the most interesting part. And I will try to give like an overall idea of what have been doing and what have already identified at European level when we talk about homes and health. So, sorry, this is not working. You can, okay. Well, this is, we have to be aware that after the COVID crisis, we are more conscious about the importance our homes have in our life, not just for older people, that was like the more visible part because of the isolation and loneliness issues, but also with the young people. And now a lot of cases are coming about mental health issues after the COVID. Also, we have been aware of the needs we have in our homes and what are the lacks we have also in other homes, more related to what Nicola has been saying about the quality of housing, air quality, energy efficiency, and other issues. And also we have been aware that when we are in a lockdown and we are taken apart from our community and our social network, that has a very big influence in our health either. Well, we know that if environments are disabling people, there are less chances for that people to contribute to society. You cannot work, you cannot volunteer, you cannot take care of anyone, you cannot consume. Healthy cities have more chances to be active citizens. We have to push for this and think in all the lifespan, and that will enable to untap the potential of all the citizens. We already know, as Andy has said, the influence and the impact that our living environments have in our health and well-being. Housing is a social determinant of health. And when we talk about getting old, healthy, that doesn't mean that we are not going to have any diseases. It just means that we should have the capacity to do the things we like best. And this depends on the one side in our intrinsic capacity, that is our health, mental and physical health. But of course, there is a very big influence in the environments we inhabit. if you live in an environment that doesn't allow you to go out to the street or to have access to services, you are isolated. That can have a very big influence in your mental health. Also, when we talk about accessibility, habitability, and safety, more related with what Nicola was saying about energy efficiency and those things, you can have health issues if you are chronic disease, about respiratory issues, if there is humidity in your home. Also, if your house is not adapted, you can have accidents and falls. And of course, when we talk about energy efficiency, we cannot forget about the energetic poverty that has also a big influence in our quality of life. And of course, our homes should be able to let us get care at home. That can be the support, the typical care you can get at home from caregivers, but also we should be able to have the readiness level or the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure that will allow us to have access to the new services that are being created now. We have to live clear when you talk about homes, and when we talk about housing, we are talking more than just what is the dwelling. We are talking in a place where our history is being developed, that we have a very personal tie with the place we are living, and leave us to be independent and have control over our lives and our project of life, to be active and healthy, and to be socially connected with our environment, our community. And this means that when we talk about homes and housing, we have not just to think on the building or the dwelling itself, we have also to think in all the community, and the community is the buildings around, but also the people that is living around and the services we can access. This is in a project that we did developed last year, and that some of you already know very well. We developed like a vision for 2040. It was focusing homes for all life course. So it was like, imagine a society where your house is truly your home, a supportive, enable environment that helps you realize your full personal and social potential. Imagine a society where self-houses are within reach for Europeans of all ages, regardless of income, gender, race, or ethnic background, sexual orientation, health status, or disability. That is what we have to be thinking on. That is where we should go. What happens with this? Well, housing is clearly a public policy, and all the relevant stakeholders have to be involved. Of course, the owners and the people that is inhabiting the homes, but also all the ecosystem that is around housing, the construction sector, the public administration, the ICT and care service providers, all the financial sector. Also, we need to have appropriate tools and policy frameworks, having regulatory and legal frameworks that can cover under which umbrella can be developed these kind of initiatives. And of course, we have the issue that Nicola has already talked about the economic part of that, the affordability. So in this project, I have said Homes for Life, we did analyze some situation in different European countries, and we saw that depending on the country and the context, there are very big differences. And some factors can be facilitators and can enable the fostering of new housing initiatives, innovative housing initiatives, new models. But in other cases, there are a lot of obstacles. For example, if you don't have a regulatory framework, it's very difficult to be able to push these kind of initiatives. If there is know-how, or the know-how is very siloed and there is no transfer of know-how, if there are not financial incentives, also the housing stock has a big influence, because if you have very weak rental stock, that means that many times the responsibility of the adaptation of the homes falls under the property, the owners of the homes. And also, when from the administration level, there is not a clear responsible for analyzing the housing market and being aware of the needs of the future of the society. If no one is in charge of providing adequate housing to all the society, then it's very difficult to be able to push for these initiatives. In this project, we did analyze different innovative housing initiatives across Europe. And we saw that there are a lot of them, and probably many of you that are attending this workshop will meet some of them. Of course, I have just put some of them, but we saw that we could, let's say, put them inside one of these categories. Many of them, most of them, are related to age-friendly housing, because as Oscar has said, when we talk about housing and health, many times aging comes to our mind, because it's when people start losing or having different health issues. But these categories are, the first one is showcasing technology, are those projects that are super technological. In many cases are like pilots with very digital infrastructure and a lot of implementation from the technological point of view that really don't come sometimes to cover a need. It's just like proposing different solutions. And many times they are inside already like a kind of ecosystem of different companies and stakeholders that are pushing for this kind of solutions. The other one could be like shelter elite, we call, that is more focused on the market that is around older adults. And here are those kinds of nursing homes, but high level luxury places where people can decide that they can afford go there and live in a community with all the services. Then we have conscious retrofitting. This one is those initiatives that have been implemented in already existing buildings, and many times are heritage buildings. This is important because, as Nicola has said also, when we talk about retrofitting and when we talk about retrofitting protected buildings, because they are heritage buildings, it's very difficult to see what you can do and what you cannot do. But on the other hand, many times these buildings are in the center of the cities, that is where people want to live. So it's important to take these kind of initiatives also into account. Then we have the specific communities, that is people that goes together because they have something in common. It can be religion, it can be, I don't know, a sense of watching life. It can be a group of friends or whatever, and they decide to go and fund their own community. Then we have the ecosystem building, that is similar to showcasing technology. Probably is when there is a region that already has a strategy to be a front runner in these kind of solutions for aging at home or for homes for life course, and they are already involving all the stakeholders, the industry, the different companies in developing new solutions. We have some home sharing that it has existed always, but now with like new innovative solutions. And we have retrofitting challenge, that his name is quite funny. It's like to do things that the way that were done before, but now have changed. It's like, for example, to change again from, for example, in the nursing homes, to change again from that, from people being a patient that they cannot decide what they can do to be like in a kind of hospital, to change again to neighborhoods and communities, to go back what was in the origin. So there are some examples in the different countries, and you may know most of them because, I mean, are the ones that we have been talking about and that we all have been inspired by in some moment or another one. In Poland, for example, we have Mimo Wieku, At Home Despite the Age. That is a showroom apartment that has a lot of solutions to make it possible for all the adults to have an active and independent living, and also for people with disabilities. And they have a lot of implementations, best practices about accessibility, health, well-being, and have mobile devices to assist all the adults and people with disabilities. Then we have Stalowa 29, that is the first co-housing solution in Poland, and it has been implemented in a protected building, heritage building. We have a multi-generational housing lodge that is here the most innovative part is the way they have selected the people that was going to be living in the community. So they have young people that come from foster care, they have family with children, and they have older adults, and they have like common spaces, but different apartments. In the case of France, we also have like different solutions. We have 27 Del Val, that is a center of connected health and healthy aging. It has a model apartment with different implementation, and also the intention is to create that ecosystem around different stakeholders at regional level that work in the loss of autonomy and how the technology can help that. Then we have Residence Calia, H2L Seniors, that is a kind of prefabricated apartments that have all that is focused more in people that is not able to live further in their homes because their homes are not adapted, and they want to look for another place, but they don't want to go to another they want to keep close to the neighborhood, and the intention is that it can be replicated in other countries. We have Pole Intergenerational of Nice Meridia that has been pushed from the administration, and that has common, it has a school, it has different services open to everyone. In the case of Ireland, well, Ireland has a lot of initiatives because it's very active in age-friendly cities network. For example, just not to go further, for example, in the case of Ava Clondakin, what they have been investigating is how people that live, for example, in detached or semi-detached homes, that they don't really need all that space, and besides, sometimes they cannot even use the upper floor because they cannot go up the stairs. So what they do is adaptations, and they rent the upper floor so they can get money for that, and they can live with another family, that creating also a community. We have also the housing with supports in St. Michael's Estate in Chicore in Dublin. That is a project that is in design, and that has been thought also living place for people that wants to be part of the community but maintaining their own private spaces. In the Netherlands, we have the Hoogebeek and Karrenhof. The Hoogebeek is, I understand that you all know it, is it has been a lot of years already working. It's a neighborhood for people with severe dementia, with Alzheimer. So they have created a neighborhood with common spaces and common services. Is divided in different units where people they identify the common things they like to do, and they put together people that has common interest. And they have also a supermarket, they have a bar and different services, and it's open also for other neighborhoods outside this community. In the case of Karrenhof, is focused on home sharing among young older adults and old older adults, but always with a sense of being part of the community. It's not sharing the space, just it's sharing a community. Well, we have the project from Israel, Borgo Mazzini Smart Co-housing. I thought, Oscar, that you were going to explain your own initiatives, but I saw no. But well, in this case, one is working already. The other one is, if I understand, is in design. I don't know if you have already finished all the construction works.
Yeah, 80%. Yeah.
Okay, so they are also an example of a new way of focusing this kind of intervention, taking into account ecology, taking into account smart homes and that approach, and also ergonomics and all the part of accessibility, and of course being the starting point, a participatory process, so that is really co-designed and co-created. And then we have two examples in Spain that are totally different. The first one is Residential City Brisa del Cantábrico. That could be what we have said, a specific community. It's a group of people that have always been in relation with cooperative initiatives. And when they saw that they were becoming older, they decided that they wanted to decide where they wanted to live and with whom and how. So they created a cooperative, they launched a context, they bought a site in a rural area, and they have been designing the kind of services they would like to have. They have also thought that it could happen that some of them could, let's say, fall in dependency because of health issues. So they have also designed it, taking into account that some of the apartments have been totally adapted to people with severe health issues, so that they will be able to live there forever in their lives. And then we have ECHAlliance. That is a building that is dedicated for people with physical disabilities, and is super technological. And probably the most innovative of it is the model that they have used. Is if you are living in ECHAlliance, you have option to decide the kind of support you want to have. So depending on your capacities and what you want, you can get support from caregivers, and you can have different technological implementations in your apartment, but you are the one that decides. So this has made possible to young people with severe physical disabilities that were living with their parents in unadapted homes. They have gone here and they have been able to start going to university again, or going to see their friends, or going to see a football match or whatever, because the apartments are totally accessible and technological. So just to finish my intervention, let's say that there is a huge diversity in innovative housing initiatives, apart from the difference among countries, because the social context and the cultural context has a big influence also. There is also a difference among the character of the projects and what are the future directions proposed by each of them. Are geographically dispersed. I mean, there are some ones that are in big cities and some other ones are in towns and villages and rural areas. The most important part is that the innovation in many times is not so much focused on technical developments or let's say like new products and services and so on. Is more focused on social character of these kind of initiatives, how people organizes, how the day-to-day is organized, the new housing concepts is more focused in that. And then also we have seen that the concept of home, as I have said, is broader than just your apartment. All of them, or most of them, talk about community, being part of the community, inside their own community, and also with the other neighborhoods that can be around the city around them. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Sylvia.
Yeah, please, Andy.
I was just going to say that was really interesting, Sylvia, and I think a great overview to see on a helicopter view such hidden gems of best practice. A couple of people have reached out in the chat function, Sylvia. We'll come back to you for some, because I know you've got links of all of these best practice examples to share from the work you've done. So as part of the follow-up for all the people who are on the call and watching it later on, we will send out what we can, obviously, from Sylvia and colleagues here in terms of those best practice examples. I certainly have seen colleagues from Scotland are really interested in this, and I think there's lots of crossover. So conscious of time, Oscar, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Andy, and thank you, Sylvia, for such diversity and picture. And you helped me in bridging the next step, because when you talked about context and adaptation of the solution, is what we are going to talk in 2 breakout rooms. So one will be led by Nicola Contarin, but is about what does good look like, so experience of co-design, and the other with me, but is about where is the money that we need to do things like that. So now Raffaele will, of our team, will split ourselves in the group. We will have 20 minutes to maximize the result, and then back in the plenary. So please, Raffaele, if you could create the rooms.
For those people who've not done breakout rooms before, you'll see a little thing pop up saying you're being moved to room X. Don't panic. And you'll appear in there on your own to start off with. Again, don't panic. It's not because you've not got any friends, that's just me. But just follow the links that come up in front of you.
Okay, just a few moments for the assignment, and you will be redirected.
This is like in a real event where you have that shuffling of chairs and who am I going to go and sit next to? Aha! Press your buttons. And then Oscar, you just kick off. Maybe just.
Yeah. So, colleagues, we first we want to start with let's.
I think we're good to go, Oscar.
Yeah, I guess we are almost back. Okay, colleagues. So now is the time to exchange the main ideas that we learned from our exchanges. So, Nicola, if you want to start first in summarizing which are the findings, please.
Yeah, we were still in the middle of the discussion, actually. Sharika was talking to us about the changing of culture regarding health, because also, correct me if I'm wrong, but Philip was saying that we need to design our communities, our buildings, considering what we want to become, let's say. I'm trying to summarize in a certain way what is going to be the house and the city and the community, the society of the future. So, and how can we talked also about the economic issue. So apparently, even if your breakout room was about finance, we touched about that. How do we do that, and how can we get there? So there is this need for investment, of course, but also there is a need for an cultural investment, or also, like Philip said, the design that we use to create communities and cities or houses, let's say. So this is mostly what we talked about, the needs of a structural change of our mindset and the way we plan, the way we want to see our society.
Thank you very much. And regarding, say, the finance issue, we got an exchange about a couple of experiences. And the main one that we so impressed me, so I want to share, is what is called, let's say, the nomination process. But is, for example, when we have almost new projects or conversion, municipalities play a major role. And this nomination process, if I understood right, is to set up an assessment panel that could, let's say, choose, okay, the experts and the ones who could work on the project. This means also to be transparent and having a huge connection with local stakeholders along the process. And talking about public and private funding, we discussed about how it could be done in terms of, let's say, contextual adaptation based on who is asking for the project. So colleagues got relevant experiences, and we discussed about the idea to keep going in sharing such kind of experience and present into the group. So thanks to Eric, Alan, and Joelle that was with us. So and now is the time to, let's say, summarize and mainly to launch a survey, an online survey, where we want to ask you some, let's say, your attitudes and willpower in saying which are the experiences that you would like to share in the future, and how we could be connected, because throughout, as Andy said, the opportunity of ECHAlliance, we could share existing opportunities not only within our group, but with our other places and thematic ecosystems. But mainly we want to start from ourselves in saying, okay, we could present this and that. I don't know, Andy, if you want to say something before we launch the survey.
Just before we launch this, just be aware, polls go wrong on these platforms. We will also send this questionnaire out, I think, as a follow-up. I'm not going to preempt things. They can go wrong. So this is useful information. We're going to pull off, I'm conscious of people's time, we're going to pull off the slides, the resources, Sylvia's best practice, Deirdre's needs, etc. And obviously the inputs we've got from experts over in Scotland and Wales. I see you, Phil, and in Greece as well. So we've got a lot of, and the Netherlands, I must say. We've got a lot of feedback here, and we'll then share that back out with our community via our portal on the ECHAlliance website. So we want input. Let's see if that poll works, because the last time I tried to look at it, it didn't. So tell us what we need to do, Raphael. There we go. Your poll's in front of you.
See it live. Just a note to co-hosts, because co-host can only see the results. So if if you can see only the results and you cannot vote, it's because you're a co-host of the meeting.
I'm there. I've nearly broken my mouse from clicking it so hard.
Okay, so let's reply, please, to how satisfied are you of the content of this event?
And while we're waiting for results, I want to get across to you, this is a kick-off session for our housing and health thematic ecosystem. So we've got these large themes we want to target in the future that you've seen before, that Oscar's talked about. So we want your input. And we want your input, especially if you think you've got something on the need side. I'm going to get rid of some sun, because this is a rare occasion in the UK. Be banned after Brexit. We want to hear your input in terms of needs and solutions on each of the subtopics that we're going to get in the future. So let's have a look at these results.
Yeah, I kindly ask to reply, because we see just few answers. So please do your vote, let's say.
Oh,
okay. It seems that most of us want to keep going.
Yeah.
And yeah, in case you have a best practice or experience, but this is question 3, but you are willing to share, please write down briefly, including contact information, which is, so please write just some keywords about the name of your projects that you want to present, or more than one maybe. And also suggestions. So the last one is about suggestion. And based on that, we will also define how we could keep in touch in the next events, because we would like to have a follow-up moment, maybe in April. This was the idea, and if possible, together, but we can share.
Conscious of time, should we close at that one?
Okay.
Got a question, I think, from
yeah, Shariklia.
Okay. From Greece.
It's okay, Shariklia. You'll get used to it. It's okay. We don't have a project to present, but we have a plan of a project that we are trying to convince the local government to finance. So I'm sorry, I didn't understood correctly.
That's
that
okay.
we had that option. So
that's a need. We'll come back to that.
that's a need. Why is it a need?
Because it's a project you want to do.
But a project has various stages.
Oh,
It's
okay.
conceptually okay.
Fill
So
in the
words
form.
matter. Okay. Thank you.
Oscar, I think we need to close.
Yeah, so from our side, we are very happy and thankful for speakers and all the colleagues coming from all around Europe that share the time. And we think that is just the first step. So we want to work together. And thanks to be here. And Andy, if you want to close up.
Yes, as Oscar said, thank you for all of you who turned out. This is very, as I said right at the beginning, a kick-off session. What I'm looking for here are stakeholders, okay? Stakeholders to then bring topics along to this ecosystem as we go through. I would look to this to be having about 3 to 4 sessions a year on very different subtopics. Maybe more, maybe live, maybe even dare I say it face-to-face, if we can ever start thinking about that again. But for now, I want you to think about what those topics that are driving for you, what those really key topics. Fill in that form, come back to us directly or to Oscar as well and Nicola. I'm just going to say for now, thank you for organising this, Oscar and Nicola and Raphael. It's been really, really great. Thanks to our speakers from Northern Ireland. Deirdre, thank you very much. Great to see you back in. Sylvia, always good to hear from you. Fantastic to see our members speaking as well. Great overview. Great input from you, Nicola, as well, about some of the needs. So thank you very much for that. I think that closes off for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues.
Bye.
So,
Thank you very
see you.
much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Nice to see you, Rafael. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Well done. Well done, colleagues from Italy.
Thank
Don't
you,
worry about the
Andy.
numbers. This is quite common on our first meeting. We're going to kick those numbers back up. Okay?
Yeah.
We'll discuss how we do that.
Okay.
All right.
We will make a strategy about it.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you for being with us. Ciao.
Ciao.